Hi, this is Morley and this is the Wire. Please share this video as due to the subject matter, it will in all likelihood be shadow banned by YouTube. Civil War analysis. Black Lives Matter terror cells will carry out armed flash mob killing sprees on white communities while corporate America provides funding for illegal weapons. Civil war is now inevitable in America as left-wing terrorism groups such as Antifa and Black Lives Matter grow to ever more confident thanks to 269 corporations funneling hundreds of millions of dollars into their hands, some of which being used to purchase automatic weapons and parts smuggled into the United States by China. If you've been following the news, China's relation with America isn't too good right now. They've had obviously a falling out. The U.S. has increased their military presence in the South China Sea, so that's certainly worth mentioning. Update: the China weapons smuggling ring has now expanded into Louisville, Kentucky, as well as Detroit, both hubs of Black Lives Matter terrorist recruitment, as well as the ANFAC, Black militant group who are already marching in formation, wielding weapons and threatening white occupants of vehicles. It's no exaggeration to state that McDonald's, Netflix, Google, Nike, and Apple and other well-known brands are now openly supporting left-wing terrorist operations in America, and they offer no apologies for doing so. This is the new America where the tech giants, the media, and the corporations are all in with left-wing terrorists who openly call for killing police, executing whites, and overthrowing the government. Fact check. Black Lives Matter is run by trained Marxist anarchists like Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and Opal Tometi via Law Enforcement Today. According to Patrisse Cullors, in a 2015 interview, myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. As for Opal Tometi, she is close personal friends with Nicolas Maduro, Venezuela's Marxist dictator. If you're not familiar with the reign of terror of dictator Maduro, please read up. The goal of Black Lives Matter is to achieve the complete overthrow of the United States of America to be replaced with a Marxist authoritarian regime where white people are executed, churches are burned to the ground, and corporate fascism authoritarians like Google, Facebook, Disney, etc. rule the enslaved nation, where thought crimes are punishable by death and all speech is heavily censored and controlled by the regime. The structure of the coming civil war: flash mobs of heavily armed Black Lives Matter terrorists wielding full auto weapons funded by corporate America. The coming civil war won't be structured like in the 19th century war that pitted North versus South. A modern civil war will be decentralized, rapid in its deployments, and organized using pro-terrorism online platforms such as Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, all of which are run by the very same lunatic left-wing criminals who will be waging attacks against America. Facebook and Twitter are essentially terrorist platforms that now censor all pro-America voices. The full auto weapons and silencers used by left-wing militants will be funded by corporate America, which has already donated over $500 million to the so-called social justice causes. Just a money laundering operation to buy more weapons for BLM terrorists. Remember that the next time you make a purchase of anything, including a Big Mac, a Netflix subscription, or a pair of name-brand shoes, you may be funding terrorists who want you dead. The structure of the upcoming civil war won't be like anything you've seen in U.S. history. A recent article by foreignpolicy.com, an academic-leaning publication that caters to the globalists, offers an insightful analysis of the likely structure of the coming civil war. Keep in mind that foreignpolicy.com is a pro-globalism publication that publishes propaganda hit pieces like one entitled "QAnon's Madness is Turning Canadians into Potential Assassins." It's essentially a far-fetched hit piece on the QAnon phenomenon, setting up a narrative to blame QAnon when Canada rolls out its own Boston Marathon-style false flag bombings to push the narratives that gun owners are terrorists, except for the gun owners who are Black Lives Matter terrorists, of course. The publication also claims that white males are going to be the ones committing most of the violence, magically leaving out all the black people who are committing most of the violence on the streets of America today. Here, the black militant NFAC group marching down the highway near Atlanta, threatening people with guns and actually demanding reparations from white occupants of vehicles. And here's a video of one of the NFAC leaders explaining his manifesto. Their plans include filing a declaration of liberation in which they can claim they will declare every black person in America to be a political prisoner, while demanding the U.S. government hand over territory that the NFAC will take over its own black ethno-state. They currently plan to demand the state of Texas to be handed over to them as part of the reparations transfers, if you can believe that. So foreignpolicy.com claiming that all the violence will be carried out by white males is pure delusion. But that doesn't mean that the rest of their analysis is wrong. It seems to be spot on, actually, in describing the structure of the coming civil war. For the United States, the shape of future homeland conflicts will be asymmetrical, distributed, and heterogeneous. A contemporary homeland conflict would likely compose with numerous dynamic factions organized by digital tools around ideological and affinity networks. It would likely be a patchwork of the affiliated insurgency groups and counterparts engaged in light skirmishes along the overlapping edges of their networks, mixed with occasional high-value terror attacks against soft and hard targets. Essentially, what they're describing are flash mobs of armed left-wing militants who coordinate a plan on Facebook or Twitter, no doubt with the full support of Zuckerberg and Dorsey, and then spring into action carrying out mass murder on an intended target, then vanishing into the cities. Likely targets include white neighborhoods, malls and shopping centers, government buildings, the homes of conservatives, patriots, and journalists, private homes of law enforcement, daycare centers, and schools that cater to white people. The terrorist forces will arrive in regular-looking vehicles, then spill into a target area, spraying gunfire and killing Americans with rapid movements and automatic weapons fire. Minutes later, they will flee the area before the police arrive. Notably, the police will probably never arrive anyway, since Democrat traitors have deliberately defunded police or ordered them to stop policing in order to allow Black Lives Matter and the Antifa terrorists to achieve unbounded success in their own terrorist operations, such as seizing down Seattle or Portland, for starters. Notably, civil war actions by left-wing terrorists won't rely on the setting up static zones like Chaz or Chop. They will rely on rapid deployment and rapid exfil operations, which could appear in minutes almost anywhere in the country. On one more note, as left-wing militants carry out mass murder, the treasonous media will describe their operations as peaceful, while local hospitals will claim all the casualties died from COVID-19. The battle lines aren't geographic, they're ideological. These militant flash mob operators could merge anywhere in the country at any moment. The battle lines aren't geographic, they're ideological, as foreign policy explains. Warfare now often proceeds from ideological and economically marginalized communities whose suffering and fear is wielded by cunning global actors. They become guerrillas, rebel factions, proxies, and insurgencies. Sometimes they look more like a tribal conflicts composed along racial, religious, and familiar or economic lines, but the top of the resource crisis that push violence to become a necessary solution. They are rarely simply two-sided conflicts. In other words, your neighborhood might be attacked by a black militant group in one day, while your local government buildings are firebombed by white Antifa mob the next day. You might also see in response that the patriots groups raiding the homes of known Black Lives Matter leaders killing them while they are asleep. Similarly, BLM terrorists might unleash targeted violence against the police officers in a coordinate early morning that targets, for example, dozens of cops' homes or all at once. We fully expect power grid substations to be attacked and taken offline in many areas of the country during these clashes. By the way, the power grid will become unreliable, especially in larger cities. This is starting to seriously amplify. The future of not only America but the world is certainly uncertain. I ask that you like, comment, share, and subscribe to this video, to my channel. Please share this video. This is vitally important that this information is shared. Thank you very much, and God bless.